Okay, and we're live. Live coming to you from Miwi.com, actually YouTube.com, but we're talking all about Miwi today. So I'm very excited to introduce our new CEO, Carlos Betancourt. Welcome, Carlos, and we'll get stuck in to all things Carlos in a minute. But first and foremost, let's introduce Miwi to the people online here that may be watching or listening in and haven't heard of Miwi. Miwi.com is a wonderful alternative social media network with over 20 million users. We have 700,000 micro communities on MeWe today, and we are very excited that we are bringing them into the world of decentralization, and we are putting user ownership back in the hands of the MeWe users. So today I'm excited and joined by Carlos Betancourt, the brand new CEO of MeWe.com. Please introduce yourself and provide some background for our listeners and the MeWe community here, Carlos.
Awesome. Nice to see you, Lisa. Thank you for hosting. Um, First and foremost, I want to say thank you to all the Miwi users that are watching us and let you guys know that I'm super excited about this opportunity. And most importantly, which is going to be one of the big topics that we'll discuss today, I am super excited to reward our user base and make sure that we continue preserving their data and privacy rights. It's a big thing for me. And a little bit about myself. I've been in the crypto space professionally since 2016, mostly on the institutional side of crypto. So I founded hedge funds in the past. I've worked a little bit on market making desks in the past, and I'm excited about this new opportunity, which uh, brings a lot of joy to me because I think that MeWe is doing something that a lot of other social medias are not, and that is truly empowering the users and making sure that they actually make meaningful connections, and which is what we're about.
That's a lovely intro. And Carlos, I think the MeWe users will be delighted to have that personal feel with what you're doing. And also maybe even a bit of background about where you're from. Carlos makes me really jealous. He sends me pictures from beautiful, gorgeous islands all over the world. So he's well traveled. That's what we'll say. Just to get into it, and we'll go into MeWe and the future of MeWe and where we're going and what we're building in a few minutes. But I would just want to get an idea from you about what excites you about the role as CEO and maybe your approach to leadership as you take on this new challenge as well.
Sure. I think Lisa's alluding to the fact that I grew up in Aruba and I get to go home to visit my family in Aruba, which is a phenomenal place. I miss my home quite a bit, but I live in the U.S. I've lived in many different cities in the U.S. So in terms of being well traveled, for sure, I've probably visited over 50 countries. But stateside, I've lived in Florida, I've lived in Georgia, I've spent some time in New York, I spent some time in Washington State, and I've spent some time in California. So pretty well traveled, covering all the corners of the U.S. Um, and then maybe a little bit about me. Obviously, I grew up in a Caribbean island. Um, Very different dynamic than my adult life. I grew up in a place where we could simply leave our doors unlocked for both our car and our house, and that was a phenomenal childhood for me. Being able to play outside and really just enjoy time with our friends and family. Um, and maybe more a little bit about my leadership style. I've been a founder multiple times. I've had exits before. I tend to approach leadership in a very unusual way, maybe a little bit unorthodox for compared to most people. I always like to say that I ran an asset manager, and for most people, it was really hard to believe that I had an open vacation policy for all my employees at the time. That's almost unheard of. But what I like to do is I first and foremost like to hire people that I believe in, that I believe are great professionals, and want to empower them to flourish. Right? I think being able to provide all the tools that people in your workforce need to be successful is absolutely crucial for the success of the company. And so my leadership style is less of a hierarchy and more of a collaboration. And I think if we all come together, we can build amazing things. And maybe a little bit of that is because I grew up playing team sports. And I do think that if the team is a cohesive unit, you can accomplish anything.
Yeah, I think that really plays into the values that we see on MeWe today as well. The communities on MeWe are so passionate about those communities and those groups and what's happening within those groups that it's really inspiring, and it makes you want to. It latches you to the platform more than any other social network that I've ever been a part of. So I think that leadership style that you bring in terms of collaboration is already playing out on MeWe.com today. So it's going to be beautiful to see it all come together. So for you, just to get a little bit serious on it, because we are sharing and being open about MeWe and MeWe's values, is it important today to give everyone a voice online?
Yeah, no, like at the core of what we're doing is being able to be a platform that is inclusive to anybody, right? And for people to feel safe and be able to express their feelings, their opinions, their diverse perspectives. Um, we're not in the business of suppressing anybody at MeWe. And so for us, being able to share everything that you're thinking is actually a wonderful thing that creates that community, right? And we see it across over 700,000 groups on MeWe, where they're really each and every single group microcosm its own community with, in some cases, different rules, and but it's phenomenal that people from all over the world get to connect with each other and speak freely and be able to post whatever they want. um, I think shout out to the coffee and wine group at MeWe that recently accepted me as a group member, and I think about it, and it's something that's unique. You don't find this in other social media apps, right? Sure, you can join a group, um, but the rules of engagement and kind of like the moderation aspect of it is significantly different within MeWe, and that is what makes MeWe so special.
Yeah, I completely agree. And even for me yesterday, I was telling a friend of mine, I was like, I'm after joining a pickle fan group. People who love pickles. Like, where would you find that? And I'm like, I love pickles. Yes, I want to be in a fan group of people who love pickles. And then everyone started sharing back to me, and especially the community on MeWe, it's an openness, it's a willingness to share and to be the quirky version of yourself. So for the NFT and crypto scene, it seemed very niche for a while, where, if you talk outside of it, what are you doing over there? Are you buying something that we're not supposed to be buying? What's happening? And I'm like, I see the welcome side of MeWe in that sense. You can welcome your openness, your quirkiness, your weirdness. Yes, I'm going to be the different versions of myself. But I don't know. Do you feel the same?
I do. I think it's been only about 2 weeks since I took over the role as CEO, and just engaging with everybody on the app and getting hundreds of messages from all over the world with a little bit of everything, right? I've gotten messages about where we're headed, where MeWe's headed, things that people used to love that MeWe used to have, and whether or not we can bring those things back. Um, but it's wonderful, and I think people almost let their walls down a little bit at MeWe. They feel more comfortable sharing and knowing that we have no interest in selling their data. Um, Conversely, I've seen messages from folks that get a little bit upset about some of the restrictions that we have, and I think I want to address that. I think a lot of people sometimes don't realize that being able to provide you guys this platform, the ability to share your pictures, your images, your videos, is something that it's not free. It's something that we really need to, from a financial standpoint, think thoroughly about. Um, so we do have some limits as it pertains to how much folks can post. But make no mistake about it, that those limits are non-related to how we treat your data, and that is at the core of MeWe. We remain a privacy social media platform, and that's how it'll remain for as long as I'm here.
Great, great. We like to hear that. I'm sure everyone on this call and everyone tuning in will be delighted to hear that you're keeping to the values of MeWe as it began. And I think as well for MeWe users, it might be this is a good chance to go into a little bit of the roadmap, where we're going, where you see the vision of MeWe, the transformation as we see it into the world of Web3. We've already started discussing the values of decentralization, user ownership. If you could talk a little bit to that and maybe give some ideas you have, give us some sneak peeks, that
Yeah.
would be really good.
So, look, I always tend to think of Web3 and crypto almost as something happened, right? Occupy Wall Street happened, back in the day. And I think a lot of Occupy Wall Street, in a way, felt like retail folks feeling like they were getting the wrong end of the stick, right? That they couldn't participate in deal flow that Wall Street banks were getting access to, right? And I think that catapulted the crypto space into what it's become, right? And obviously, with crypto, things move at a completely different pace than in traditional markets, and it's a really fast pace. But it's a space where collaboration is incredibly important and that people are willing to collaborate. It almost reminds you of what you see inside MeWe. Um, and so I always like to kind of share that, because where everything is going is digital, and I think everybody's aware of that. But more than just being digital, it's the ethos of Web3, which is being able to empower a user to continue having some kind of say or ownership of their digital footprint. And if we go a little bit further than that, where we're headed is not just controlling your data and controlling how people use your data, but also being able to earn from that, right? If somebody else is using it. Um, so it's a nice kind of flywheel where you control your data, and if you so choose to, you may be able to monetize it, right? In a way that is simple and easy, that we maybe 10 years ago would never have thought would be possible. But blockchain technology is really opening it up to incredible things. And then taking it a step further is decentralizing. Um, I think if we decentralize a lot of entities, we will start seeing that everybody gets to control their own data, and not one single major player gets to control it and monetize it, right? And basically leaving you for scraps. So look, I envision a future where MeWe is of innovation in the Web3 space. We have some incredible plans of, and you guys are going to start seeing some of those plans take effect in the app very soon. In terms of a few things that maybe I want to share, or I'm willing to share now, without giving up all the plans that we have. We have been working very hard for almost 12 months on designing an interesting reputation system that will allow for our users to be empowered. And at a high level, how that would work is, as long as you are participating in the greater MeWe community the right way, where you share great content, where you follow other users, where you create groups and you engage communities from the outside and bring them into MeWe, we will make sure that we reward you, that your reputation is going to continue growing within MeWe, with the goal in mind that we will make sure that you actually get rewarded with our tokens in the future and be able to use those tokens to open up an incredible amount of tools, Web3 tools that could be really fun for our community and that will allow us to do things like tipping content creators that you follow and you like. Um, this is something that is very prevalent in the Web3 space. I like to always share the example of companies that are NFT marketplaces, right? Um, some of them have done incredible work over the past decade or so. But what is very amazing about what they're doing is they've embedded inside the smart contracts a royalty for the content creator, which is something that artists never had the chance to monetize, right? Somebody would pay for a piece of art or commission an artist to do something, and it was a one time payment, but then that person could squeeze more money out of the artwork. And in a way, it was unfair for the artist, right? For the creator. Well, what we're thinking of doing is making sure that we empower the creator, we continuously reward the creator, and so that our users can have better content continuously, and that those content creators are happy being part of the community and also being able to continuously grow and continue being an artist and developing new ideas and posting and creating new things within our ecosystem.
Yeah, it's certainly a MeWe movement. That's what I would say. It's like what I see on MeWe, and the beauty and why originally, and I mentioned it on our last Q&A with myself and Jocelyn. I think MeWe is doing Web3 before it's even Web3. So the power of putting those tools in the users' hands that are already on MeWe, acting with Web3 values, I just see huge potential. So I'm very excited for the future. Maybe like you, I've seen some use cases, especially in the refi space and the charity space, where you can give very with so much transparency it, to the blockchain. You can give and ensure that you're giving to the person that deserves to receive that gift. You know what I mean? For the
100%. And
charity.
that is a beautiful thing about the crypto space, right? We are using blockchain technology. As long as you have somebody's wallet, you can see every transaction in perpetuity. And it's something that is immutable and you can't mess with it. Um, and so when we look at some of the things that MeWe is very proud of and things that we're working on, look, we have gone down the road of establishing an incredible partnership with the folks at Avalanche. We're super proud of that. We're leaning in hard to make sure that we can launch our L1. And once we do that, every MeWe user is going to be super excited to use some of the tools that they're going to have at their disposal, which includes a wallet that you can use within our ecosystem, but also you can use a wallet that you may be familiar with already in the Web3 space. So those are things that we're super excited about. And to touch on why I think our relationship with Avalanche is so cool, this week alone, there was an article that was floating around and going viral in social media about Avalanche hitting 20 million transactions per day. And I thought that that was so cool, but it's a testament of how big that blockchain has been getting and all the users, right? You have folks that are giants, right? Fortune 500 companies like HSBC or Citi using the Avalanche ecosystem and creating their own L1. We will have our own L1. We want to bring a ton of liquidity into our ecosystem and allow for our users to enjoy a much different experience where you could still be part of communities, you can still have your social media uh, access, but in a future where we're going into more of a social fi type of space where you might not have to leave MeWe walls to do cool things like staking, right? And earning a fixed APY that will empower you to come back and grow and earn.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think we'll see some new learnings and also some new ways that creators and communities, in particular on Miwi today, will help shape that L1. That's what I'm
100%.
excited to see, because we
100%.
will. The idea with an L1 is to offer the MeWe community and the base and the groups on MeWe today and elsewhere the ability to build with MeWe. So you have a base layer of tools, Web3 type of tools that might be help you to add wallets to your community, add DAOs, some functionality of decentralized autonomous organizations to your community, which are structures that allow community-based voting to do stuff within that community. And I think that's very powerful when you can give those tools and then allow the groups and the communities that exist today to play with those tools. So you might say,
100%.
oh,
And
Lisa,
games
Carlos, how
too.
will I use this? And games, mini
Yeah.
games, like there's so much out there that if it's positioned and put on the MeWe register correctly, I think it'll be so fun. And that's what social media was designed to be. You were designed to have fun. And I think for me, especially when before I met MeWe, I was starting to get lost, right? So on other social media platforms, you're like, okay, you're curtailing and kind of tweaking the version of yourself to be a certain way. So I'm going to be the professional version of myself on LinkedIn. I'm going to be the crypto version of myself on Twitter. I'm going to be, the Instagram has to be, I have to post a picture of my daughter because my mother is going to look at it, you know? So it's like, where can I just be me? Like, and just say what I want to do, or like post what, like maybe a poem that I really like or whatever. And I think MeWe there's a home for that, where you can be your authentic version of yourself. And in order to keep that ethos without adding massive advertising into the spec, right? I mean, massive, maybe opt-in ads in the future or whatever it is. But if without having that advertising engine attached to that ethos, it's very hard to maintain. It'd be very hard to like maintain that
Yeah.
those
You
beautiful
you
values
bring
that
up
we.
a great point, right? And I was having this conversation with some friends recently. And look, when you think about it, we didn't have social media the way that we see it now up until the early 2000s, right? And that original thought of joining a social media, being able to keep in touch with your friends, and all of that was phenomenal at the beginning. Um,
Yes.
I think as social media grew and as certain interests kind of took over, that dynamic started changing quite a bit. And, I think the reason MeWe is here is to provide an alternative. Um, we have no interest in monetizing our users. Right now, the only way MeWe actually makes any kind of revenue is through subscriptions, right? And it's through donations. And so there is a fine line and difficulty in managing all the features we want to include for our users while not necessarily pulling in the revenue that we need, right? But it's also fascinating opportunity, right? And so how we are approaching this is simple, right? You could be in any other social media platform without any question. They're monetizing your data. That everybody knows that. I don't think that's a secret. What we want to offer is the ability for you to make and earn off of your data at some point in time. And that's where we're focusing on. But simultaneously, we also need to pay our bills. And this is a big question that I get inside the platform. And so we are moving into a direction where we want the users that do not feel as their data might be as important, that they are willing to opt in to view an ad. And that will allow us to create a revenue that the company truly needs, but also making sure that that person gets rewarded for it, right? So if you opt in to view an ad, we want to make sure that we are sharing a portion of what we're earning with you, because that's your data and you've chosen to do the right thing and opt in. And so that is how we're looking at it. We're playing with the idea and how we can make it into something that's relevant and that won't jeopardize the user experience and the ethos of MeWe, right? Ultimately, if you opt in to watch an ad, that doesn't mean that we're going to sell out all your data, right? You're giving the ability for somebody to have your attention. So it's a little bit different, but we are playing with those ideas internally and having really in-depth discussions as to how we can offer that. Um, but that's definitely something in the plans for the future, and figuring out what the best way is without disrupting the beauty of MeWe and the communities that are within MeWe.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say that MeWe is kind of first in line when it comes to wanting to give value back in mass to the user base, right? And I feel, I don't know if you feel, but I feel like we're first in line. But is this the way that all social media will eventually have to go? Because why would you be somewhere that doesn't value your attention or value the time invested in what you're doing, right? Like you want to go to MeWe to be your organic, authentic self, and you want to spend more time there. You want to spend more time where you can be authentic, right?
For sure. I think, look, it's also no secret that other social media companies use, black box algorithm to suppress or promote certain posts, right? I mean, that's widely known. Um, you know, MeWe shows you content on a chronological basis. We don't shadow ban, we don't filter based on your viewpoint. We encourage that. We want you to be yourself. And if, no matter whether you lean to the left or the right, or you're a conservative, whatever your religious beliefs are, whatever your friend group is, it doesn't matter. We want you to share with the greater community, and we want you guys to just respect each other, right? We have basic rules that I think, you know, are not necessarily these moderation rules that you see across other social media companies. We have rules that really just prevent from malicious intent, right? We will certainly ban you if you are fomenting, something malicious, if you are, not participating within MeWe, um, or inciting violence, for example. We don't want any of that. What we want is that communities get together, that they flourish, that they have a positive experience. And look, if you have a specific viewpoint and you don't agree with somebody else, like, you can always keep scrolling, find communities that match what you like more. Um, I think MeWe is for sure not a place for confrontation. It's a place that is welcoming for everybody, and I think it shows once you're in the app and you start, engaging some of the community members. It's a fascinating place, and it's unlike any other social media company out there. And the changes that are coming are changes that are necessary for the company, but that doesn't mean that we're changing, the core of MeWe and what we want MeWe to be, right? What we're looking to change and improve upon is things like the discoverability of certain groups, that matches your likes, right? If you are into hiking, we want to make sure that you can see all the hiking groups and that you can explore them. Um, and that is a hard thing to do when we don't deploy targeted algorithms, right? And so we are solving for those things. I know I saw a lot of the questions and a lot of folks wondering what was happening with that. Um, Look, in the end, we want to remain the best privacy social media company that we can be, and continue making sure that our groups are engaged and that they're providing value for people, right? So that they have a positive experience. And um, how we fix some things in the app, sometimes it feels a little siloed. We're working on something super interesting. Um, I think one other thing that I want to share with the broader MeWe community is something that we've been wanting to really release, which is a leaderboard for folks that are active on our social media platform and groups. And I think that that will be a super cool feature that will really engage more people. And it's also something that is very common in the Web3 space. Um, from more of a financial standpoint, I can share that in a lot of crypto exchanges, the top traders or the most active people in those exchanges show up on the leaderboard. And the exchanges provide really cool rewards and things for those people that are participating in their platform the right way. And we want to do the same thing. So if you're gaining great reputation points and you're on a leaderboard, we want to make sure that we reward you and we incentivize you to continue involving the greater community.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I love what you just said there about having communities have a positive experience and flourish. Like that really registers with me as like that exactly what we want to hear for Miwi. And that's exactly the way we want to grow. So yeah, I think everything has been like you're saying is really wholesome. And I think we have some really, really great ideas and a great product in terms of like coming down the tracks. And especially on the Web3 side, I'm very excited for to again, let's get playful and let's hear what the community thinks. So on that note, I have a lot of comments. I
Let's
see
go.
Kirsten and I see Yulia and I see Mia and I see all the guys in here and they're commenting and they're behind us. And I know that they are supporting the vision of Miwi and they have been supportive of Miwi for so many years. So I want to thank them. But I've seen a few things, right? So there was one thing saying, how can we reward MeWe users? I think it was legally said it, MeWe users, when a lot of the content on MeWe isn't owned by the people that are sharing it. So it's like not their content. But the idea with the reputation system is more about the participation rather than the content.
Of course, absolutely. We want everybody to participate in the greater ecosystem, to create new groups, to engage in groups that maybe they haven't participated in the past. Um, Look, I think of a reputation system a little bit like, let's call the star system at Starbucks, right? You go to Starbucks many times, you start accumulating some of those stars, and eventually you'll get a free coffee, right? And so, that's kind of how we're thinking about it. I think it's going to be significantly more powerful with Web3 and all the tools that you'll have at your disposal. Um, so, you know, just give us a little time um, to provide you guys with more of an idea of what's coming in Web3. I also, for some reason, got a lot of comments about our ambassador program and people wondering what we're doing there. Look, our ambassador program is going to take off. We're excited about it. We've been talking to a bunch of candidates that can join our ambassador program and that are great fits that love MeWe and want to share how powerful MeWe is. And so in the next few months, you guys will start kind of seeing a lot more MeWe ambassadors everywhere. And that's going to be super exciting to be able to share news about MeWe, what we're doing in terms of Web3, some of the new features that we're going to be rolling out. And there'll be a nice conduit for everybody to be in the know.
Yeah, and I saw someone writing earlier about not the ambassador program itself, but I'm working really hard on that, guys. The ambassador program and also about advertising, maybe to get more brand awareness. That is definitely on our list, and our vision and our ideas for MeWe is to get more eyes on MeWe, more eyes on the brand, more eyes talking about MeWe, because we feel that we're there. We're right alongside some of the biggies. They just don't know we're there. So we're kind of like the underdog, but nothing wrong with being the underdog, right? Because we can come out barking very loud. I saw Mia saying she wants to buy some authentic merch. So Carlos, another idea for the
Ooh,
list.
look, so
MeWe merch.
this is a cool idea that some folks were discussing in one of our team calls, which was the power of NFTs and group ownership and what else we could do with that. My mind immediately goes to print on demand, right? What if we enabled the ability for group owners to create their own merch brand and print on demand and be able to share their logos and their experience of their community in a different way, right? And Look, merch is amazing. I think that I like that concept. Please, by the way, anybody that's watching this, feel free to text me on MeWe. I actually respond.
He's an
Half
open
of
book.
the folks that reached out are always wondering if it's really me. It's really me. I will engage you guys. So just feel free to message me. It might take me sometimes a little bit more time than normal, but I will respond. And I love the feedback and ideas, and this one is a great one.
Yeah, I love the idea of a little bit of merch as well. And I'm telling you now, not just me with merch. If the toy photography group and the Mandela art group did their own merch, I am all over that. Okay, so I'm just like waiting for a marketplace for those groups alone. So I want to do just to complete the round because I think we did a lovely, friendly introduction, and I think they'll definitely have a taste of who you are, Carlos. But I want to do a quick fire round to close us out, and I'm going to ask you a few questions right here. Okay,
Oh, let's do it on
it's
the
like being
spot.
in
I got you.
yeah.
Let's go.
Okay, let's go. Crypto or cash?
Crypto.
All the way. Book or podcast or both that you would recommend to read and listen to?
Oh, so many good ones. I would say a little old school for the book. I would go with 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
Love him.
Must read. And then in terms of podcasts, so many of them. I'm a huge Crime Junkie fan. I'm sure a lot of folks are huge fans of Crime Junkie, but there's a podcast that I recommend to everybody by Blockworks that's called Supply Shock. So if you want to learn about crypto more from an institutional financial side, that's a great podcast. I highly recommend it. And then more for pleasure, I'm a big Florida Gator fan, and I listen to Stadium and Gale, which is a Florida Gators podcast. So go check them out. Super cool cast and great guys.
Yeah, you're definitely showing off your colloquialness there. I don't even know what a Florida Gator is. Like, because I'm from Ireland. It's like, does anyone do a
It's a
podcast about
football
betting?
team. It's a college football team.
Okay. Yeah, so we're open to more podcasts, guys, if you want to
There you go.
recommend them. Hopefully we'll do a MeWe podcast in the future soon. One word to describe MeWe in 2025.
I want to say elevated because we're going to elevate everything across the board from our energy as a team to all the things that we're doing and what's to come. I promise you guys, it's going to be a big, big change and for the best of MeWe and something that's going to empower everybody in the community.
Okay, well, I think that was a lovely way to round us out. If anyone has anything that they want to ask Carlos about or have questions about the future roadmap of MeWe and where we're going and where we're trying to grow the platform, feel free to reach out. Carlos is very generous with his time and always will respond when he can. And I'm also available on platforms. So we hope to see you on MeWe.com and to grow together and to be one big huge positive community. Thanks,
One
Carlos. Thanks
last
so much.
thing, Lisa. I want to
Okay, go,
have
go.
two quick shout outs. I want to have a shout
Okay.
out for all of our users out of Malaysia.
Uh-huh.
Huge shout out to that community. You guys are awesome. Keep going, and hopefully, we'll come meet you guys in Malaysia and we'll do a great MeWe meetup there. And then a second shout out, somebody in the app texted me and asked me if this whole quote or concept of like crypto years, if they're really like dog years. And so I responded to them with this quote that is a very popular quote in the crypto space, which is crypto years are like dog years, but with more volatility and fewer naps. And so I wanted to give a shout out to that guy. And feel free to keep the messages coming. And I appreciate you, Lisa, for setting this up. And I look forward to engaging the whole MeWe community, in the next few months. And as we release new cool features, it'll be great to do it in a live like this.
Super. Okay, thanks, guys. More to come. Thank you.
Bye, guys.